We don't agree with the judgment. We don't agree with this judgment. I think the court got it completely wrong. This is an issue of freedom of speech. This is an issue also of the rights of the uninfected. This is an issue of protecting people who don't have HIV/AIDS and speaking for their rights. What has happened today is that the court has got it wrong. The court is seeking to suppress and suffocate the rights of Ugandans, rightful thinking Ugandans, to review, to critique and criticize efforts that are being made, which are taking us backwards. Now, I criticize this Miss HIV/AIDS beauty contest because it was not helping us to go forward in fighting the prevention of HIV/AIDS. And I told them you need to balance when you say you're fighting stigma. At what point does fighting stigma destroy the ability of people to restrain themselves from getting HIV/AIDS? In essence, marketing HIV/AIDS. So they are saying that what I did was discriminatory. I'm going to be studying this judgment. I think that it is a miscarriage of justice, and I'm going to be appealing. You know, the fight for freedom of speech, this number one is a fight. We are free to think, and we are free to criticize. We cannot have sacred cows where you cannot say, I can't criticize this issue or that issue. You can. Without attacking the persons, that's what I did. I criticized the idea of a beauty contest for people with HIV/AIDS. I criticized that idea. I did not think it's right. You cannot criminalize the thinking of a person. You cannot, even if you don't agree. You know, in society, there are things that people think which you don't like, but you don't close them down. In fact, you call them and say, hey, tell us what you think. That is how society progresses. But if we keep silencing anyone who comes up and say, no, I think that project is not a good project. That beauty contest of who is the sexiest girl, who is the prettiest girl with HIV, is not good for people without HIV/AIDS. And so I think court has failed to hear our side of the story. And what's interesting is His Excellency the President, we gave that evidence. His Excellency the President gave the same statement I gave. He said HIV/AIDS is a disability. You cannot be able to perform as a soldier when you have HIV. And there are assignments that you cannot be able to do. And stop looking and having treatment of HIV as a means of normalizing HIV. The President said that. So if they are saying that I must not talk, then they are saying President Museveni must not talk. Because the same things that I've spoken are the same thing His Excellency the President has spoken. So really, this is a miscarriage of justice. We are going to appeal this unjust and unfair ruling because it is against the constitutional right of our freedom. Because you see, in the end, we are fighting the right to think, the right of self-expression, the right to criticize. That issue has already been settled by many court precedents. Therefore, you cannot say, no, on a certain group like a person with HIV, you can't think that and criticize a project that's wrong. No, then court is creating what are called a super class in this country. It is creating some kind of people that you cannot be able to speak to and criticize. I want to end this issue that I have suffered. If we are talking about suffering, I've suffered. I've given all of my life to fighting HIV/AIDS for 22 years at Makerere. That's what I've been doing. Long before these people were born, I've been doing this issue. Number two, and I've been doing this for free, giving up big salaries that I would have earned so that I can be able to prevent. And I've prevented thousands of people from getting HIV/AIDS in this country. But also, I've also showed that I care about people with HIV. My personal assistant, I brought him over here. He's a young man living with HIV/AIDS. I shared with people that my older sister, Florence, my brother, Fred, they died from HIV/AIDS. We treated them. I'm taking care of their children now. How can you say Pastor Sempa is discriminatory against HIV? This is what's wrong. You know, sometimes these Western-funded projects, they come from the West because for them, HIV/AIDS is being used as a tool to normalize homosexuality. HIV is being used, and in Europe and America, when you call HIV/AIDS hotline, it is the same as homosexual hotline. That is standard in Europe and in America. Now, those very same people have infiltrated Uganda's HIV/AIDS thing, and they are fighting me, not so much because Pastor Semper is discriminatory against HIV, but because I stand and we stand against homosexuality. So you can see some of these issues here. It appears as if it is about HIV, but really behind the thing, they are fighting our campaign to stop the normalization of homosexuality in this country. Because now when they come up with a homosexual campaign, and they say, because we are homosexuals and we have HIV, you therefore cannot speak about us. Do you see the precedence that is this is very dangerous. So we are going to be studying this issue, and we are going to be analyzing it, and then we are going to appeal this judgment, because it's an offense against the Constitution, on human rights, on freedom of speech and our rights. It's also not true that I am discriminatory against people with HIV/AIDS.